You're listening to All Things 3D, where we talk about the world of fabricating, designing, and capturing in the third dimension.
Hey everybody, it's All Things 3D. Today is Tuesday, March 3rd, 2015. Good afternoon. I'm your co-host, Chris.
And I'm Mike. Where the
And
hell
today
are
we
you,
have,
Chris?
I'm great.
Yeah.
We've got a special guest on the program today. We've got Tatjana with us from Autodesk.
Hi.
And she is getting ready to go when she's not going and taming lions and doing stuff that super babes do. She is inventing new products at Autodesk as a technology officer there. Is that right, Tanya?
Oh, wow. Technology officer is way too important. I'm not that.
Oh, okay,
I'm
okay.
simple product manager, the usual beast in a software company. Basically, the person who kind of helps a team guide into developing new products for either an existing problem or potential new opportunities.
Awesome, awesome. Well, we welcome you to the program, and thanks for being with us again. And she unveiled last week an interesting project. It was Autodesk released Memento, which she happened to be one of the spearheads of, and she's here to tell us today a little bit about Project Memento. So why don't we get right into it?
Yep.
Okay.
Let's not waste any time. By the way, Chris, where are you at? That doesn't look
I'm-
like a normal studio there.
I'm not in my office today. I'm actually on the road. I'm in Pacific Grove. I'm in a beautiful place called Asilomar, which is up in the hills of above Pebble Beach and 17 Mile Drive, and I'm overlooking the ocean right now. It's beautiful.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, a little change. Well, hey, thank you for spending some time with us instead of enjoying your view. And on that note, it appears she's already switched over to her presentation, and we'll let her take it from here. And I promise not to say anything.
Hey, that's not fair. I do want to say something.
Yeah, I love this intro, and I love for those of you that haven't checked out Memento, you can check out Memento at memento.autodesk.com, and there's a video, and it opens with this. Is it an Incan statue? What is this?
Actually, this is Garuda, and pretty much we tried in one image to encapsulate what the product does, but basically you can generate high-definition 3D meshes from any reality input, be it photos or scans, and then it creates high-definition mesh that turns into a beautiful textured mesh that can be then 3D printed or told as a story on the web. So we kind of tried to find an image that would with one image explain the concept of the product.
Well, you picked a nice one.
Yeah, it's cool. It's got lots of colors and intricate detail, and you can see it's a really cool to see the mesh view and kind of like either a 3D printed view on the right or some simulated 3D or even a render. Either way, it's pretty cool. I like the logo and everything.
Thank you.
Really well done. So let's get into it. Show us what Memento is all about.
Okay, so usually when I have more time, I would start with a couple of inspirational stories about what different types of industry professionals are doing leveraging reality. Today we will really focus on a product demo, and I would invite you to come to the website, take a look at the rest of the materials, and also to webinars that I have already recorded where you can actually see the full story. If we have time at the end, I will show you what stories have been developed with Memento. But Memento is really about some new opportunities that a couple of emerging technology trends are enabling us to do. So we're looking at three trends. We're looking at the trend of ubiquitous sensors. We live in an era where we have phones that have amazing cameras that can capture the analog world around us, and then we have Kinects at home, and then laser scanners and handheld scanners, structured light scanners, Tango devices. All of these sensors today are becoming accessible, affordable, are all around us, and they enable us to capture the analog world around us and bring it in a computer so that we can do something with it. That's one trend that we're following. The other one is accessible fabbing. We're living in a new industrial revolution where the machines are not anymore in hands of governments or rich people or big corporations, but the machines start to be computer numerically controlled, and they are getting smaller, they're getting cheaper. They don't require you to understand how to use them, but all they want is a digital input, be it a 3D digital model or a vector file, and then you can use a CNC mill or lathe or laser cutter, and as of lately also 3D printers. These machines enable many people who have never been allowed to make stuff all of a sudden to have access and translate their ideas or help their professions by creating physical replicas of whatever they're doing. And then there is the third trend of the web, of the 3D web. Our lives go on the web becomes 3D. 3D web really enables interactive, amazing experiences, but it's not very easy to do that today without being able to program. So all of these trends are around us. They enable us. And but to leverage them, you really need to be an expert. You need to be a CAD geek, you need to be a programmer, etc. So that was what gave us the idea to create Memento. We wanted to make sense of all of these trends and leverage the ubiquitous sensors, the laser scans, the handheld scanners, the photos, maybe in the future CAT scans and MRIs, any kind of input with sensor to translate that in a high definition 3D model that we then prepare for fabbing or for further digital workflows, and regardless if it was for digital or for fabbing, to also prepare it for telling a story about that object on the web. And that's what really is Memento, all in one application that enables all of this, which usually would have been a workflow for which you need 5-6 different softwares to create something really meaningful for any reality capture. And those softwares that exist today that have been used in some of these workflows have been initially made for engineers and not really for the people we are making it for. And who are we making it for? For many new players, for scientists, for artists, for sculptors, for museum curators, for entrepreneurs, basically for many who want high quality results but yet are not trained in the technology world. So basically you have a reality, you capture it, you process it, you enrich it, and then you create a new digital reality out of it or a new physical reality. So couple of more slides and then I'll turn into the demo. What Memento enables you to do is input reality from any sensor. You can take photos from an object that you like. You take the photos all around it in order to create a 3D model. So you input the photos, or you have a handheld scanner like Artex scanner, and then you capture an object, and again, you can do that in Memento, or you have a laser scanner and you have captured an environment, interior, or an object, and you can import that. So once Memento gets the input of the sensor, it converts that data into a high-definition mesh. Then it finds all the, basically that mesh usually is messy because it has captured the environment, it has outliers, etc. So Memento has a really simple but easy but powerful tool set to clean and fix the large mesh. Then you can inquire the data set, the mesh, you can enrich it, and then most importantly, you can optimize it and translate it either for further digital workflows or for further fabbing workflows. It also enables you to share and view models online. That will come in about 2 weeks. And where we're going in the future is something that we prototyped with Memento with the Smithsonian in a project called Smithsonian X3D. If I have time, I'll show you at the end, for creating interactive 3D web experiences with the assets that we created. So basically, we create a 3D digital model from photos with image-based modeling or what we call photogrammetry. Then we can also create 3D model from structured light input or from mid-range laser scanners that is coming very soon. Memento has almost nothing new. What's new is just a very strong core engine that we built from scratch that can handle 2+ billion polygons. Why is this important? It's because when you create mesh models from photos or from sensors, from scans, those meshes are not as light as modeled meshes. These meshes are dense, they're huge, and no modeling applications that have been designed with modeling, 3D modeling in mind, can even open these meshes, let alone let the user work pleasurably with them, clean them up, fix them, and prepare them for further workflows. And then that platform, we said we can import the meshes. Now the meshes are created, but they're not always clean. They have holes and spikes and particles and tunnels. We find very easy way to clean up the environment and to find these problems with what I call 3D Photoshop-like post-processing tools. We then have also measurement and scaling tools to put it in the right scale, but also comparison tools where, for example, we work with marine scientist who is underwater capturing corals, and he wants to know the coral that was captured in September and the corals that was captured 6 months later, how do they relate to each other, to compare them to say, is the coral actually shrinking or growing? Memento has also embedded 3D printing tool set that enable you really quickly and easily to find all the errors and prepare the model for 3D printing. But most importantly, it has this set of preparation and optimization expert tools where this huge meshes can be decimated, but in a smart way, and then the textures can be baked so that that huge mesh can be used on VR and AR devices, on mobile, in a small scale, small size, but yet to not look like origami, but to look really as beautiful as the big mesh. But we have different expert functionality and workflows to go to media entertainment tools like Matbox, Maya, Max, through FBX or OBJ, or to Fusion 360, which is industrial design and mechanical engineering products for further design, if I want to capture something to design with it further. And we have other file formats that I can cover. So I'll switch now to the live demo. And let's see. Okay, I'll start just with one open mesh here.
Winged Victory,
Chris,
one of my favorites.
One of your favorites.
I was showing this model off. I have some beautiful 3D prints of this. I actually gave my grandma and my parents both a statue that was one of their Christmas gifts, and they loved it.
Yeah, so this was captured actually by Cosmo Venman, who is an amazing young guy who loves art, and he goes around museums in the world and captures art, and then uses Memento to create high-definition digital replicas that he unselfishly shares on Thingiverse. But he does something else as well. He actually creates materials that he paints these 3D prints with so that they look like bronze, look like stone, like bone, etc. And I'll show you at the end a little bit. So this is the Winged Victory. This is the environment of Memento. You will see it's very clean. It has a ground plane to allow you to understand where you are. The software has really minimal number of tools, and we will keep it as simple, but that doesn't mean that it's limited in the capability. On the contrary. To zoom in and out, I'm just using the middle mouse button. To switch the modes from shaded to triangular mesh, I'm just zooming in so you can see actually how dense is this mesh, and this was done from photos.
Do you know how many photos were taken?
Usually, Cosmo was taking about 100 to 150 photos earlier.
Oh, that's not that many for creating that many points.
Yes, I personally, I think that Cosmo also lately takes a little bit more photos. Too many does not help, but not enough definitely affects. When you have something like this, like the Winged Victory, where there is a lot of detail, you do want to take more pictures. The current limitation on Memento is 250 photos, but we already have it working with 1,000+ photos, so we will eliminate that limitation very soon. I just wanted to show this particular model has 32 million polygons.
My gosh.
Yes.
And you're working with it in a web browser.
So I said I wasn't going to ask any questions, but I'm going to ask them. At this particular point, you do have a video out there to show people how to correctly capture photos or images so that you can provide this functionality. Is that correct?
This is a very, very good point, Michael. The algorithms work. The software is amazing. If you try and it fails, it's only because you need to learn how to take the photos. I can do another session for your listeners if you want on the best practices, but I did make a webinar. That is webinar number 3. that I call It's All in the Photos, because you really just need to understand a little bit how to take photos. Shadows are not good. Enough overlap is important. The light is very important to be boring, to be diffuse, no use of flash. There's really just a couple of tricks to know, but it doesn't mean that you have to be a professional photographer. It doesn't mean that you have to have the best camera in the world. It's really more about making dull, boring photos that are sharp, that don't have sexy, depth of field, how we like to do the art photography. That's not good. They have to be sharp everywhere. But those are pretty much the 4 or 5 principles that one needs to be careful to be aware of.
If I can add something from being an amateur with this application, I experimented a little bit before the show. Took some pictures of my wife, Siobhan, with an iPhone 6 camera. And I think with some more experimentation, I think I could have better results. So one of the things I mentioned, to get this kind of mesh, I noticed there was 2 different modes once you capture your image and bring them in. There's a draft mode, and
Yes.
then I guess a standard mode. Could you kind of talk about those a little bit?
Yes, and I would have actually covered it when I'm showing the principle. So
Okay,
I can
excellent.
start with that now. I just wanted to show you basically this is how you, using the mouse buttons, you can orbit. You can also orbit using this. This is more for fine orbiting. I personally do not use that. Zooming in and out is that simple. Okay, so this is just very basic to start with. When you start Memento, you will actually start with this screen. My screen looks very busy because I have worked on many models. Your one might be empty because you're just going to fill it. But let's say you had an object that you loved, you took photos, and you want to create a 3D mesh. So what you do is you click on Photos. It asks you, where are your photos? Are they on a local drive, meaning on your machine, or on A360? What is A360? A360 drive is a storage space that Autodesk gives you 5 GB of for free when you sign up for Autodesk email address, which is basically for free. So you have an Autodesk login ID. If you don't have any at the beginning, as you start the application, it will prompt you. Once you're logged in, your name will appear here, and you will get also a cloud storage space. And just to cover it here, Memento is a desktop application that reaches to the cloud for the strong computational processing, like creating 3D from photos or from scans. You can use Memento offline in case you just want to be working on your files and edit them, but the moment you want to create a mesh from photos or scan, you will need to be connected to the cloud. So
and that's because you're actually using the computational horsepower that's located on the servers in the cloud.
Yes, and there are people who love that, and there are people who don't like that. Our logic was there will be a lot of strong computation happening. We don't want to limit Memento only to users who will have very, very, very strong machines. Also, we didn't want to limit the users when they start running a reconstruction. Sometimes those reconstructions, if they were offline, would take 2-3 days, in which time you cannot close the computer. We wanted to leverage the cloud processing to push for strong computational stuff there. The user doesn't know what's going on. It's happening behind the scenes. And the moment the photos are uploaded, you can close your computer and you can check the status of your reconstruction wherever you are. And then once it's ready, you receive an email telling you your mesh is ready. I have, for example, here a reconstruction going on. It's 61% that I started an hour ago. And I'm taking a look at what is in progress. So we said we took photos from an object we liked. I said create 3 different photos. My photos are on the local drive. And now I will just search my drive where I have the photos. In my case, I have a mess here, so I'll have to look for my...
And the crunching part of things, so you upload things, and the crunching part of things, takes about 3 or 4 or, some number of hours that's not stated. It probably is dependent on where you are in the queue, and has to do with, how much you uploaded and how much crunching time that your assets are going to take. But can you upload multiple projects at a time?
Yes.
So if you have one already crunching, you can get another one crunching.
So yes, that is the new thing that we added in the beta. Earlier, we had to wait for the first one to do it. So a couple of things. You are absolutely right. I cannot say, hey, it takes an hour or 4 hours. It can take also 7 hours. It
Right.
depends on many things. Number of photos, resolution of photos, and it was also dependent a lot on how many people are at the same time hitting our servers. Now,
Right.
at the day of the launch, I must tell you all, we got hit so badly that everyone started, oh my God, I'm waiting for 15 hours. Is this serious and stuff? There were a couple of things going on wrong there. Tomorrow we're launching a patch that improves a lot of that speed. But there are a couple of things. We are bursting to Amazon to leverage all the Amazon servers. However, Amazon does not yet have publicly launched the GPU, the strong machines. So
okay.
whenever a job is really big, we're processing it on our servers. That unfortunately hit us last week when everybody was picking the best options and smart texture, which moved all the models to our servers. So the good news is Amazon is very soon coming out publicly with the really strong machines, and from then on nobody will be waiting on anything because it will be just spreading across all the servers. Until then, there might be crunch times, but in the worst case, you will be waiting for 7, 8 hours. The reason during the beta launch that people waited for 15 hours was because we were just absolutely hit, and it was all on our servers. Okay?
Yeah, well, cry me a river. It's free, people.
Yeah, no, but I don't believe in. I do not
No,
believe in the
I'm just
concept that
teasing.
if it is free, that it should not work or it should work crappy. So absolutely not.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we found the photos that we made. So I made these photos. They're from that Garuda model. So once you pick your photos, you have a one last chance here to review the photos. See if you see any blurry photo, you probably want to eliminate it because it will affect the reconstruction. Or if somebody passed by, or a dog passed by, or you tripped and you moved the camera, etc. So if you want to eliminate some of the photos, you click on the red button. If not, you just say create model. Now, what you're seeing here is the build that is coming out tomorrow, in which we actually hid already a couple of the advanced options that were not necessary. Basically, all you need to do is pick draft or best. Michael asked me to talk about it. What's the difference between those two? Draft means, hey, I captured a bunch of photos. I'm still on the site maybe. I want to see if I capture the photos well enough that they stitch into a beautiful 3D model. The draft mode will create a much lower resolution of the model, but it will give you very quick feedback, maybe in less than an hour, how your model would look like, and then you can reprocess it to best.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened with me. It took about an hour for me to get my results back. So it does seem to work
And
that
in the
way.
future, it will be much faster, Michael, because we will
Right.
be, yeah. And the other thing what Chris asked was, can I process multiple at the same time? The answer is yes. I will show you what you should be just careful on. In the advanced settings, basically we have smart crop on or off. At the moment, we are keeping it off because we found situations in which the crop on was not delivering what we expected. So bear with us until we figure that one out. Just don't change the settings, and I will show what that means. This is all you need to know. And you give them a name, Garuda test. I picked best. I always go to best because I know that I know how to take photos. And
And Tanya is correct. It is very important that you have even lighting. And the other question I have for you is, what percentage of overlap do you think would work best as well?
I just crashed my computer, but yeah. I usually take photos every 5 degrees.
Okay.
So, and I will show you, I will open a couple of, why don't I do that now to show you? So for example,
Okay.
I'll just quickly open a statue that Cosma Venman did. It's Homer. And if you click the C key, you will see the cameras.
No way.
Okay, so, but for this to work, you have to process it with the beta build or higher up. Before that, we did not have this. So you can see how Toro Cosma Venman was. He was, if I model, can you see the circles?
Yeah.
So he was doing one circle, and then another, and below and below. I shoot like this as well, maybe not as Toro as Cosmo. I will show you my horse that I made, for example. That was my very first reconstruction. Some people like to do it up and down. The only problem with up and down, so let me just click here. Here my cameras. This was my very first reconstruction. I was not very thorough. But to be honest with you, the model still looks awesome. Let me just turn the mesh mode so you can see it. This is not bad.
Which shows how forgiving this product is. I mean, it's showing how it's somewhat forgiving. There's some freedom there.
Yeah, I shot this with Canon 100S.
Let me interject for just a moment. The build that is up there right now, I downloaded an hour ago, does have this feature in it. So if you're not...
Absolutely, but sometimes when people tested Memento before the beta build and processed models, the camera will not show. They have to reprocess them.
Yeah, well, that's why I wanted to point out that it is available right now. So if you're watching and want to download it, this feature is in there.
Very good. Okay, so let's imagine that I'm watching how my progress is happening here, and I received an email. The mesh is ready, and we're ready to rock. When the mesh is ready, it will basically show the picture here, and clicking this blue button downloads the mesh. The moment I click that button, it appears here, and I open the model.
Now, when you say download, this is onto your local machine, correct?
I download the model on my local machine. What does that mean then? Now, my model and the photos that I uploaded exist on A360 on the drive, and I'm downloading it on my machine. So I can, from then on, eliminate anything that was on A360 as long as I have my download. So I open the scene, and this is what people get. And they say, your software is not working because I just got a mess and I was capturing this sculpture. Well, what they don't know is that the model is
buried in there.
And it's absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. Let me just show you in the level of detail. But of course, I personally myself was put off when I saw that absolute mess. This is because crop is off. The camera does not know when to stop. So let me switch back. And all the environment around it, right? So that is how we will get the first thing. So what do I do first? I, of course, want to get rid of the environment. So in order to get rid of the environment, I have 4 different selection tools on selecting the mesh. So I'm using the window selection in this case, and I'll say, hey, I'm only interested in this particular part of the mesh. Right-click and say, eliminate everything else that is not selected. We're talking, again, about a huge mesh, but as you can see, this was peanuts. It was really fast, okay?
Wow.
Let me cover other selection methods. We have boundary selection method, where I just go like in Photoshop lasso tool and delete. We have brush selection that almost like paints, as you can see. I can change the size of the brush using the, how do you say in English?
Brackets.
But the low bracket, I mean the...
Square brackets.
Yes, the square brackets. So if I click the square bracket as I just do now, it will make the brush smaller or bigger. And finally, when I'm in that mode, by the way, I have something very smart called Smart Brush that is just the beginning of something very wise that we'll be doing. If I do that, what will happen is that as I'm brushing, it understands the different meshes and the different colors, and just stops there. I'm not stopping it, it stops on its own. This is very important for later when you need to clean up nicely to use that smart brush.
It's kind of like the magnetic lasso or a magnetic brush that
exactly.
I think.
It's just a smart way of doing it.
Yeah,
so,
that's great.
Yeah. The next step that I advise users to do is, photogrammetry does not know what is up and down. The photos, you might have taken them landscape or portrait, etc. So you need to help the system understand where is up and down, because, hey, you don't need to, but you might notice that when you tumble around, the model goes in all directions. So if something feels odd about the tumbling, help the system understand where is up and down. For that, we will use the set model upright arrow. And what that enables you to do is two things. Either there is an arrow, and you can just click on a surface that is relatively straight, and it reorients the model. Or if I don't have any straight surface, I can kind of eyeball up to a level where I feel, hey, this is pretty much straight for me. That is up and that is down, and I can say now use the current view. From now on, the model is oriented in a correct orientation how it was in real life. So let's say I'm a foolish scientist. I don't know that this is not printable because it has a hole, right? Every photogrammetry, I could not go under the earth to capture, right? So I need to slice this and cap it at the same time so that I make a clean model for 3D printing. For that, we created a tool that does just that. It's called Slice and Fill. And the Slice and Fill tool has a plane that if you were lucky and you oriented with eyeballing your model exactly straight, it would already be parallel and you can slice. In my case, it's not entirely parallel because I wanted to slice it somewhere here, but you see it's not really perfect. So I can use these 3 blue balls to define a plane to actually slice it really parallel to what I need. And now I can go down. This is now parallel. Let's say I want to slice it somewhere here, and I can pick slice with filling or no filling and click slice. As you will see with every tool, in Memento we want to propose something that I call swim, snorkel, and dive method of working. For those who don't know much, they will swim in the software, meaning the software will help them very quickly do whatever they need. For those who know a little bit more, they can use the automatic settings in the software, but they can dive a little bit further. And for those who know a lot, they can sort of, for those who know a lot, they can dive with deep controls. That is how we will do it. This was the swim method. Hey, I just want this to be kept, and the tool just does it for you. As simple as that. Let me show a couple of other things that are important for cleaning up. Let's say I'm not going to save that. I'll open my famous horse because I want to show you a couple of other tools.
Can you kind of tell us a little bit about the computer that you're working on? Because this is a local-based model that you're moving around and doing some of these functions on. So what's the processor performance of the machine you're working with?
To be honest with you, yeah, blah, blah, blah. How was it in Windows? Nope. Where was the...
Yeah, if you go to your desktop and right mouse click on the you can go to properties and then... I
definitely do have a good machine, but you don't need this strong machine.
Go up, you can't see mine. What is it called? Jeez.
This is in Windows 8, I cannot find anything anymore. Let me see here.
Yeah. Oh, look, this PC. Find the icon that says this PC.
I don't have that icon on the Windows 8.
On your start menu, excuse me. Go to your start menu. Yep, and then go to this PC.
Oh yes.
See,
okay.
And right, and then well, if you go over to the sidebar, right click that.
I think on this
there
PC.
we go. This should show
it.
There
you are. You're there.
Yeah. So I have 16 gig RAM, 64 operating system. Memento does not work on 32. And I personally did take a strong machine. I just noticed today that on the website we forgot to put the system specs, which were on the lab's side, so I will definitely put them in. My machine is a bit stronger than what you would comfortably be able to work with.
Okay, so what's the processor in it? It's an Intel.
Yeah. I have an i7 2.5 gig.
Okay.
Yeah, so anybody that has a relatively, medium.
Yeah.
It won't run on a bare bones, but it'll run on anything medium grade or above that's brand new.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes,
And
and
design,
I will update the system specs. I just noticed today that we forgot to put them on the website, which will be important because I don't want people to be misled or to not have the same experience as what I'm showing, because I
But-
never put
and
it.
one
But
other
before
question.
2 billion polygons, you would have to have top of the line CAD, and you would have to wait weeks to do things like these. You know, the operations like this. So
Exactly.
this is leaps and bounds beyond what has been available before.
Exactly. So
One
I
other
just
question,
noticed that,
Tanya.
yeah, I just noticed the time, and it seems that we've been a little bit slow. I would like to just speed up to show at least a couple of things that are important for users
Sure.
when they start. Before I continue on editing functions, I would like to talk a little bit about the preparation tools and export, because they will be really important. And then we will 3D print this horse, show a little bit more editing, and that's it. So when we have made the mesh and we cleaned it up for printing or for exporting, we want to export. And I will clean this up until the end so you can see that. We export OBJ in triangular mesh, OBJ with quads. FBX, the latest beta release, actually exports FBX with camera positions, meaning that if media entertainment artists want to reuse the cameras to reproject some of the photos because they want high resolution, etc., they can do that now. STL, which is for 3D printing, RCP, which is a point cloud format, PLY, also mesh format, PNG is a transparent alpha channel image of the screen, and AVI, which I will show you, makes creating walkthroughs, not just turntables, in a super easy way where you don't need to understand anything about keyframing and stuff. But what's important is that we have a smart decimation tool. So let's say that I needed this to be really decimated up to 150 polygons because Oculus Rift only reads 150 polygons for mobile devices. Then we have options to preserve or rebake the texture so that the object can look really awesome after the smart decimation and with rebaked textures. These are very, very smart tools that we continue working on, but when you do the rebakes, you also have a chance to use to bake the diffuse map, the displacement map, and the normal map, and you will see much smaller versions of these models still look absolutely awesome in media entertainment applications or on the web. This is very, very important to know. Let's quickly follow how would I deal with this particular object, because I want to show you a couple of more things. I selected the lasso tool, click the delete button, I'm deleting, and now I have this situation. I always use the horse for this example to explain. Let's say I want to get rid of this stand here, but when I do that, I selected inadvertently the back, right? So we realize this happens rather more often, and for that we created a tool called Isolate that enables me to just isolate that particular part of the mesh. And now, of course, it will be much easier to say, I just want really to get rid of this, and now I bring back the isolated part, and the horse is here. Beautiful. Now let's say,
love that.
okay, so the horse has holes, but let's say I don't know much about 3D printing, and I say, hey, hooray, I want to print this, and it says, hey, it will take a while. I clicked on the 3D printing icon on the left. It says it will take a while. It will take a while. In this case, it was quite fast, and it says, I'm sorry, you cannot print. And then I say, well, can you please show me what's wrong? And it says, well, you have 4 particles. I can immediately tell the software, fix them all, or maybe just show me, and it shows me all the problems, you know, that I have. So, okay, for the particles, this is 1, this is 2nd, this is 3rd, I don't care. I say, you know what, fix all particles. The software will just clean up the particles now. Then it says you have 4 holes. I can again decide smooth or flat, and let's say I will ask the software to fix also all holes. I might be happy with what the software will do, and I might not be happy with what the software will do, in which case I will, from swimming, go into snorkel mode, meaning I'll start a little bit fixing stuff. This is, by the way, something that was outside, so I'll just clean it. And let's see what the software fixed. Well, not bad. It fixed the holes, however, it made this sharp edge. I don't like that. So for that, we give you something called surface smoothen, where you can push or pull. I can make stronger or less strong the brush, and I can start now. I'm not sure how much delay there is, but I hope you can follow what I'm doing. Basically, I'm telling the edge to be smoothened because the way the software did it automatically created this sharp edge that I didn't really like. Okay?
Yeah, it looks clean. You cleaned it right up.
And this is how simple we'll make all the tools. There'll be more sculpting tools coming. But this is pretty much it. Now I can go to 3D print and say, now I want to print it. Are you okay printing it now? The software checks again, not only for the visible errors, but also for invisible errors like inverted normals, double meshes, zero thickness meshes, all of these things that 3D printers usually do not like. And at the same time, it loads drivers from about 10, 15 3D printers that we have, so that you can not only see how the model can look like, but also decide what size on a certain printer you can print and prepare it for that particular printer if you want. You don't have to go out of your way. If you just need the STL, that will also be fine. What we're seeing now is the MakerBot print bed. I can, with the left click, orient the print if I want it in a different direction. I can see with AutoFit the maximum size for the print in this printer will be 167 millimeters. If I, however, switch to Stratasys, and we have in the office Object Connects, now that one has a bigger print bed, so I can print it almost 4 times bigger than the MakerBot. I can make things hollow, and whatever I decided, I apply, and then I can just send to 3D printer, meaning I can save it as STL. If your printer doesn't show up here, do not get confused. You don't have to have your printer here listed. We just want to make sure for those who have the printers and print at home to immediately prepare it for that particular printer. But any STL will do, because it will prepare the model in a way that is printable on any printer. And there you just change the scale. So that's for printing. I wanted to show you one more thing when we talk about dive, meaning the software did something that I was not very happy with the way it fixed it, or it could not fix a certain problem. So let's say I had a hole here that was weird, and I'm making that hole, and I was not happy the way the software was cleaning it. And Michael, I was trying to do this on your model that you gave me that was a disaster. And with the speed that I had there, I could not do much. But what I wanted to show is how would you tackle to make manual fixing of holes. One of the methods is to say, hey, I'll start creating bridges. So I'll pick one triangle. I'll pick another triangle on the opposite side of the hole. And then I'll go to the bridge tool. I can say smooth or flat bridge, apply. And what the software will do is it will connect these 2 triangles with something that it looks flat, but actually it's not. It understands the curvature of the mesh. I can repeat that and say, okay, now I want to connect this and this maybe. Again, make a bridge. Now we can see it starts to create like this scaffolding. And after that, using the brush mode, I can just select around the holes, and then say, fix this hole. So you have these manual methods, and there will be many, many more to come. Do not forget, Memento just launched in beta. There will be many other tools to do this, but as you can see, the curvature of the horse face was maintained because the software is trying to understand the triangles, where they come from, and how to connect that. So these are just some of the methods we'll be doing. To show you a couple of, let me show you this thing. Are you guys still there?
Yeah, we're here. This is great. I'm learning a lot, and I can't wait to get my hands on this and really test it out. I'm gonna actually build a little photo booth specifically for this.
Very good. And by the way, I will show you on the website. We have a forum. If you try and it doesn't work out at the beginning, please ping us, show us the photos. It's always in the photos. It is 99% the problem of the photos, and we can help you understand how. I'm opening this Coral to show you something else. Many people ask, hey, how does the software know in which scale you are? Well, it's very simple. A good technique is, if you care about precision, like the Coral guy does, to put something like a ruler in the scene, and then I can go here and say set scale and units, and I can zoom in and say, hey, from here to here, it's 10 centimeters or whatever. You can change the number, you can change the units, and you set the scale. From then on, it will be
That's
in
a
the correct scale.
great way to do it. Oh,
Now, I wanted to show some other functionality that we made for this particular scientist, which is compare the corals from before and after. He went, for example, in the Maldives recently because he heard that El Nino will hit the Maldives. So he captured a bunch of gorgeous corals there, and he will go again in September to recapture and see what was the effect of El Nino on the marine life. So here we have something called analyze the difference between two models. When I click it, it will ask me to load the different version of that particular model. And I will load it. What will happen now in the background, it will load the other model, and it will start finding the differences between those two models, provided they were set in the same scale. And as a user, I can just decide in which range of differences I'm interested. So I can say I'm interested knowing 0.001 millimeter of difference, and I want to see that in approximately this scale. I say refresh, and now we can see on the with the color where the coral was shrinking or growing, and understand the impact of that. So that is, again, one more tool that we use to help the scientists. With Memento, you can very easily create assets for media entertainment. This is a big model of a very old truck that we found very close to our San Rafael office in Marin County in California. So just want to show you this one. Just imagine to model something like that and to look old, you have to be an expert, and then you will waste quite a bit of time doing it. And with photogrammetry, this really, really works very easily. I'll show you.
yeah, and you get all the texture maps perfectly. I mean, it looks real because it's
And
based
because
on
of,
real,
yeah,
real data.
yes, and because we bake the normal maps, the diffuse map and the displacement map, let me just do this closer so you can see it. When you put this in something like Maya Matbox and you want to animate it or do other things, it will really look beautiful. To finish, I just wanted to open my favorite Pietà from Michelangelo. Actually, Cosmo Venman had this a replica of the Pietà, and he could not make a proper reconstruction because it was shiny. So I took it in the office, I sprayed it with a dulling spray, and with about 200 photos, I managed to do this gorgeous replica. Now, if you see, it goes in directions that I don't like. I somehow feel like I don't have a control over the model. That is what I was saying when the model is oriented in a direction that is not what you think. So I immediately go to set the model upright. So what I do then is oriented this to be upright, because that is kind of how I would like to work with. And then when I say use current view and apply, now I have really full control over the model. This is also very important to orient what is upright, because if you want to create videos, so let's say I create an AVI, the first option is turntable. If I just say export, and I'll put it on my desktop so you can see it, Pietà, export it, and I say save, it will export a 3D turntable of this. But we want it also make easy to create kind of a walkthrough or a more sexy, interesting animation of this without any knowledge of keyframes, just like everything else in Memento without any previous knowledge. So let's do that. I'll pick AVI, but in this case, I'll say I don't want turntable, I want keyframes. That means all I'm asking you to do is tell me where to start. Here. Okay, mark a keyframe. Then I want to go on the profile, mark a keyframe. Then maybe I want to go to the top, mark a keyframe. Then maybe we want to look from it like this, zooming in, mark a keyframe. That's all you need to do. And then I say export. and I'll just call this walkthrough. I'm doing this very fast so that we can get the results in time, but it's that simple. And what I asked my developer to do was not only to allow this, but to allow also the user to define, and that's coming very soon, a checkbox every keyframe to also decide to be in color or to be seeing the triangular mesh or to see this view. And imagine how difficult those things are to do in tools like Maya, Matbox, where you simply need to be an expert to do it. And we hope that scientists and curators and artists, etc., can do that. So let me quickly open those things that I just made. So this was the first turntable. I did not hit oriented very well, so it's going a little bit outside of the view. That's why the positioning on screen will be very important. So that was the turntable. The other one is still exporting. We will come back. So maybe to wrap up, I will come back here and just want to show you when people know what they're doing. They do stuff like this. This was captured with photogrammetry, and then in Matbox was rigged so that the artist can do something like this very, very quickly. The other use case would be, and this is the other way to capture with Memento, using Artec handheld scanners. We had this shock. Our CEO was designing a go-kart car. We captured live in Memento this shock using the Artec Spider. While you're scanning, you can see what you're doing. And after a while of capturing, you're getting a gorgeous 3D model of that shock. Now, the video shows how to put it very quickly in Fusion, which is our Fusion 360, our design, industrial design, mechanical engineering design
solid
product.
modeling.
Solid modeling and NURB modeling, but also imports meshes, as you can see. And now I exported it from Memento as quads. That's why it looks like quads. And now in Fusion, I can start changing these quads, remodeling, so to say, using the surfaces or the edges or the vertices. The reason why I'm showing this is that we don't only use Memento, or professionals don't only use Memento as museums who want to digitize their artifacts, or as scientists like Louise Leakey or Slyly to teach with the artifacts, but we can start thinking that this might be an approach in which in the future we can design products by starting from something and changing it rather than start from scratch.
Wow.
Okay.
So
well, we've got about 5 minutes, Tanya,
okay.
And we've got 2 viewers, actually 3 viewers now. If any of those that are
Okay.
watching have any questions, go ahead and text it to us. I hope I had that feature turned on.
Yes.
And if not, I've got a question. You
Yes.
talked earlier about baking, both displacement and textures. So
Yes.
if I understand correctly, do you do smart, geez, and I've already forgot the word for it.
Decimation.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Decimation.
Yes, decimation, so that you still have the high resolution texture. But did I understand correctly that you also do a displacement mapping as well from that higher res mesh?
Yes, we do
Excellent.
displacement, diffuse and normal map baking, and we're working on occlusion map baking.
Oh, that is excellent. So if I brought a high resolution mesh, let's say with texture, could I decimate in there and have a baked in displacement map?
Absolutely. You
That
don't
is
have to
great.
deal with reality captured meshes. You can also just import something if you want. You don't have to create your assets in Memento. You might have used also some other tool to create from reality. You can still import that in Memento. We import OBJs, STLs, PLY in mesh format, not point cloud yet. What else? Yeah, and RCM is the native file format of Memento.
Okay. And then one other question. I think you already mentioned this in our previous interview, but do you have GPU support for the desktop? I know that you're going to be supporting that in the cloud. How about on the desktop, or does it
Yeah,
really
so
matter?
the team is working on out of core, that is how we started the project. We said we will do that. At the moment, there was no need. We never hit it, the limits. But as sensors are becoming ubiquitous and can capture more and more, we'll definitely be having out of core solution as well.
Wow, sounds great. And then I had one other comment. You know, you're showing how that you can create videos for our audience out there who's familiar with Sketchfab, which is another application not done by Autodesk, but I think it's a great 3D model viewing application. Keep in mind that you could that you can bring or export your models out of here and import them in there. And now that I just found out that you have texture basing and decimation capability, I think that would be a good place. And they just announced today, what do they call it? I can't think of it, but it's kind of
physics-based rendering.
Yep, exactly.
Yes.
And
yes. So the Sketchfab guys are very good friends.
Good.
And they're very excited about Memento. Actually, I can announce now, in 2 weeks when we launch the Memento Gallery, where you can share your models online, you will also have an ability to export to Sketchfab.
Excellent. Glad to hear that.
And so one more Tanya I have for you is, so you can work with your obviously scan data and photogrammetry. You can pull in your photos, but can you pull in existing meshes that you already have?
Yes.
Absolutely. That was, I think, what Michael was also asking. You can simply go in Memento on the dashboard, you say browse, and you just browse to any OBJ. I might even have some...
if you remember the bad mesh that I had, Chris.
Yeah. So no, I remember. I just wanted to kind of reiterate for our users that, hey, if you have mesh data that you're already working with, this might be a great tool for you to edit the mesh data.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. You can import CAD data, also model data, not just captured data, as long as it's in the file formats that we support, which is OBJ, STL, and PLY. And just work with that. So it doesn't have to be captured. It can totally be a modeled stuff as well.
Awesome. I wonder if that video, I want to see your keyframe, what you keyframed. See if that video.
By the way,
look at this. What is this thing?
This is called a water bear, and I find that it's really snooky pooky, and my developers think that I'm crazy. It's actually a microscopic animal, and I'll show you. We actually also 3D printed it. This is I got this from a teacher who wants to use the capturing methodology. Here is Sherry, and use artists who can make sculptures of these microscopic creatures and then 3D print them for blind kids to learn about things that they cannot touch.
Oh, wow.
So it's a beautiful story. We just printed this in rubbery material, so it really feels like that little creature.
Oh, funny.
It looks like something I would cuddle on my couch.
I don't know if you could feel a microscopic creature, though.
Well, no, not really, but yeah.
But get the idea, at least what it is and what it looks like.
Better watch out. They might take over the world. Okay, so we're at 3:29, so we've got about a minute. So, to stay within your hour there, Tanya, if you would like to conclude and summarize for us, I'd appreciate it. And it looks like we've actually got 3 viewers, so you have an audience.
Okay, well, good. So with Memento, we want to empower people like Cosmo Venman, who is a young enthusiast who loves art, goes around museums, captures, digitizes, and creates these gorgeous materials to make the 3D printouts look like real and not 3D print. We also want to enable people like Sly Lee, who is a marine scientist, goes underwater, captures corals, and wants to measure the health of corals by being able to measure the surface. I didn't show you. You can measure the surface and the volume also of the captured meshes, and shares them online. Teachers like Sherry, who wants to use it for educating blind kids, or somebody like Louis Leakey, a 3rd generation of the famous Leakey family, who has gathered thousands of skulls in 6 decades, and they want to share them with the world. So now they started digitizing, using these methods, using Memento in order to share it then online in a website where anybody can open any of the skulls and really learn from them, explore them, compare them, and download the 3D models or the cardboard models so that they can, in a school environment, either print them and learn from the prints or even assemble them from cardboards. We want to enable people like the museums like the Swedish Mediterranean Museum, in which last year we made a project. We got a mummy and sarcophagus of the mummy, and we CAT scanned the mummified body, and we captured with photogrammetry the rest of the sarcophagi. So we basically ended up with a 3D digital replica of the entire mummy and sarcophagi that then a company called Introspectral put on an interactive tablet, and we could digitally unwrap the mummy and really explore it in new ways. These are new experiences.
Get out.
Yeah, and by the way, there we found about 130 amulets hidden in the mummified body that later we could also 3D print without unwrapping the mummy.
Oh, wow.
And then to finish with two projects, the Smithsonian have 137 million objects in their museums, but only 2% are on display. This is because they don't have enough space, so they wanted to solve that problem, but they wanted also to solve the problem of how to get interested, the kids of today who are only interested in computers and do not understand the concept of museums, because that for them is a boring, dusty institution. So they started digitizing, and last year we made for the Smithsonian a special software that was on the cloud that was enabling anybody to see how museums of the future can look like. And unlike something like Sketchfab where you can just see in 3D, this was allowing complete interactive experiences where you can see the models as beautiful as in real life, deepen the relief of the captures so that you can read it better, but we also gave curators tools to tell the story about these objects, mix and mesh media with text, with video, with colors, with tags, and sectioning and profiling and thousands of different tools that are really easy to use. This was a prototype. This will be the end tail of Memento, where it's not just about creating those assets, but about a platform on the web that enables the creators of those assets to make these interactive experiences for everybody. And the last
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, this is the final one. With Memento, we want to enable somebody like Iter Bender and Manuel Boza, who created Unique, driven by the motto that we're all unique, and focusing on 5 million amputees who wear outdated prosthetics that, you know, people stop, laugh about it, or look around, etc. The kids can be brutal when they make jokes with you about your prosthetics. So they wanted to make prosthetic covers that are stylish, that are symmetric, leveraging the new capture methods and the new fabrication methods. So they created a network of clinics all around the world and 3D printing hubs. So if you're an amputee and you want a prosthetic cover for your body, for your taste, you capture it either in a clinic or you ask a friend to capture photos of your healthy leg and prosthetic leg, and then online you design the prosthetic leg of your liking with the designer. So that's really, there is a lot to tell. I'm sorry that I always speak a lot. I hope for those three people who are here,
it was great, very informative, and I'm sure many listeners that listen to this podcast will definitely benefit from it. Go out to head on out to memento.autodesk.com and definitely download the software. And thank you so much, Tanya, for being on the program. We really appreciate having you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you very much. Hope the recording will work well so others can see it.
It should work fine. Thank you very much, Tanya. And that's a wrap.
Awesome. And we will see you a little bit later on this week on another episode of All Things 3D. Thanks again.
Review.
Bye.
Good luck.